let's begin with talking about what is sociology and what is sociological theory. After this video, you should be able to define sociology as a social science. What is sociology? The official definition is that it is the scientific study of social behavior in human groups. But what does that really mean? It means that sociology focuses on social relationships and how those relationships influence people's behaviors and attitude, and how societies, the sum of those relationships, are established, how they develop, and how they change. Sociology is not psychology, so we don't care what Susan thinks or why Michael is behaving a certain way. With sociology, we look for patterns and for trends in social behavior and for social interaction. Here's a short video I made to give you a visual of all the different topics that sociology covers.
Slobs, all he replied. God forbid you ever had to walk a mile in his shoes. Then you really might know what it's like to sing the blues. Yeah, then you really might know what it's like. Yeah, then you really might know what it's like. Yeah, then you really might know what it's like. I know what it's like. Mary got pregnant from a kid named Tom, said he was in love. Said, don't worry about a thing, baby doll, I'm the man you've been dreaming of. But 3 months later, he said he won't date or return her call. And she swear, goddamn, if I find that man cutting off his balls. And then she heads for the clinic and she gets some static walking through the door. They call her a killer and they call her a sinner and they call her a whore. God forbid you ever had to walk a mile in her shoes. 'Cause then you really might know what it's like to have to choose. Then you really might know what it's like. 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 I seen a rich man beg, I seen a good man sin, I seen a tough man cry. I seen a loser win and a sad man grin, I heard an honest man lie. I seen the good side of bad and the downside of up and everything between. I licked the silver spoon, drank from the golden cup, and smoked the finest green. I stroked the baddest dimes at least a couple of times before I broke their heart. You know where it ends, yo, it usually depends on where you start. I knew this kid named Max, he used to get fat stacks out on the corner with drugs. He liked to hang out late, he liked to get shit-faced to keep the pace with thugs. Until late one night, there was a big gunfight and Max lost his head. He pulled out his chrome 45, talked some shit and wound up dead. Now his wife and his kids are caught in the midst of all of his pain. You know, it crumbles that way, at least that's what they say when you play the game. God forbid you ever had to wake up to hear the
You might think, besides that this is a requirement for another class, what has sociology got to do with me or with my life? Why should I even care? The answer is that sociology applies to everyone. Everyone is part of a group or a society. Even some tribe member in a tribe that's completely cut off from the rest of the world lives within a society where his or her behavior influences others, and where that behavior and attitudes of others influences that individual. In turn, the entire society is shaped by this behavior. What's great about sociology is that it covers a wide range of issues and topics, as you just seen in the video. It doesn't really matter what you are interested in. You can examine almost anything through a sociological perspective. And you are applying critical thinking when you look at things through a sociological perspective. So sociologists examine the structural and institutional forces that shape how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And perhaps the most basic objective of sociologists is their interest in understanding the world around them. But how do they do this? This understanding requires the development of what's called the sociological imagination, a quality of mind that stresses that we see ourselves within the context of the larger society. A leading sociologist, C. Wright Mills, said that to engage this imagination, we must develop an awareness of the relationship between an individual and the wider society, both today and in the past. The sociological imagination reminds us that we are, to a great extent, products of the particular society and the historical period in which we live. It also instructs us to always attempt to determine if our personal trouble are in fact strongly influenced by larger social issues. So a key element is the ability to view one's society as an outsider would, rather than only from the perspective of personal experiences and cultural biases. So it helps us to look beyond a limited understanding of human behavior, and it allows us to view the world and its people in a brand new way. We see the things through a much broader lens. So by applying the sociological imagination, we look beyond the commonly accepted understanding of human action. It's the ability to view one's society as an outsider would. If we're using the sociological imagination, also critical thinking or sociological thinking, to just look at these simple children's toys. So here are pictures of G.I. Joes and Barbies, and what do you see? If you just look at them for a few minutes, you will first distinguish between there are toys for boys and there are toys for girls, right? So gender-specific toys. How do we know that? Well, from our society, the way we grew up, we know the boy toys have weapons, right? They are darker. The girl toys have crowns and are dressed really pretty, and I'm putting air quotation mark on pretty, right? Because we determine what pretty is. But it's not just simply how they are dressed, what they are wearing, the colors that they are wearing. It's also, if you look a little bit further into this, how are these toys displayed? You can see that the G.I. Joe, for example, grips the weapon, right? They really have a grip on the weapon. The Barbies are holding their dresses. Look at the hand movements of some of these. Look how they are standing, right? Holding their dresses. I don't know what to call that, but some hand movement up in the air right here, right? And also and you know that from your own experience, if you look at accessories, right? For the boys' toys, you can get handcuffs, pistols, magazine clip holders, radio goggles, right? For the girls, we have shoes and crowns and hats and combs and brushes, sometimes a baby and a stroller, right? By looking critically at something as simple as children's toys, we can see how issues of gender differences emerge, right? The difference in behaviors for males versus females, and expectations for males versus females, right? Things like that. So this is just simply using our sociological imagination, in this case for something as simple as looking at children's toys. The term science refers to the body of knowledge obtained by methods based on systematic observation. So just like other sciences, sociology involves the organized, systematic study of social phenomena. Natural science is the study of the physical features of nature. So here we have astronomy, biology, chemistry, geology, and physics are all natural sciences. right? So they study the physical features of nature and the ways that they interact and change. Social science is the study of the social features of human society. So we have sociology, anthropology, economics, history, psychology, and political science. All of these are social sciences. So it studies the influence that society has on people's attitudes and behavior, and it seeks to understand ways in which people interact and shape society. So in the social science, we examine social relationships scientifically. So for example, we might look at global recessions, marital patterns, the recession impact on education, or events like Hurricane Katrina. So they might, for example, look at how this disaster hurt poor people a lot more than rich people, right? Or how the global recession led to an exploitation of already vulnerable countries, right? This is the kind of things that the social science would examine. Common sense is often unreliable and inaccurate. So sociologists do not accept something as a fact just because everyone knows it. Each piece of information must be tested, recorded, and then analyzed. So for example, there is this false assumption that women tend to be chattier than men. However, there was a study where researchers transcribed the conversations and analyzed them, finding that women spoke on average about 16,215 daily words, while men averaged 15,669 words a day. So the difference between the two groups was not statistically significant, right? You can see it's not that much of a difference. And the scientists rounded up to say that both men and women used an average of about 16,000 words each day. But this is a common myth that we just perpetuate, right? Oh, women talk so much more. Sociologists test, record, and analyze information scientifically to then come to a conclusion based on evidence. A lot of students get overwhelmed when they hear the word theory because it sounds like it's this great big thing out there. But all a theory is a set of statements that try to explain problems, actions, or behavior. In other words, a theory is a general framework or perspective that provides an explanation for a specific social phenomenon. And we need both a theoretical understanding and also empirical facts, so theory and research, to come to a sociological understanding. Effective theories have explanatory and predictive power, meaning that a good theory will not only help you to explain why something is the way it is, but it can also predict what will happen in a specific situation under certain circumstances. However, theories, even the best theory, is never a final statement about human behavior. So we can never say, according to theory A, X causes Y, because in social matters there will always be exceptions. So we might be able to say very likely that if condition X, then Y will be the outcome. And even statistically speaking, we can say there's going to be a 98% chance, for example, that Y will happen. But we can never say X causes Y, like we could in chemistry or in physics, right? If you have any questions or need help, please email me anytime. I am here to help.